Okay, good morning, everybody. A really warm welcome to all of you. Delighted to see that so many of you are interested in our subject today, which is all about hair and specifically thinning hair, a huge concern for everybody, really, and a worry, I think, for most people who might panic about that at any stage of their lives. But we're obviously going to concentrate on people like us in terms of aging, and I have a specific question about that. But I want to introduce you to Caddy. She's a trichologist. She's from Philip Kingsley, and I'm going to hand over to her, and she'll tell you all about Philip Kingsley, because I think it's a really interesting story. I've known about them for a long time, and then also about herself. So over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Tricia. Morning, everybody, and thanks so much for joining. My name's Lisa Caddy. I'm a qualified trichologist. I've been with the Philip Kingsley brand for 21 years almost. And part of that time I've been consulting in our clinic. You might wonder what a trichologist is. So just to be brief, a trichologist is a specialist in all things to do with hair and scalp. So as a dermatologist will look at your skin as a whole, a trichologist is interested in scalp health and hair growth. And so in our clinic, we have a clinic in Mayfair and one over in New York. And our clinics are private. We have private consultations for clients who are worried about usually three things. So either worried about hair loss, worried about a scalp condition, or worried about the condition of their hair. So we treat all of those things. We do private consultations. We've got 8 trichologists in our London clinic, and we diagnose, and we have a range of treatments, and we hold our client's hand for the whole way through their hair or scalp journey. And I think what I love working about Philip Kingsley is we have a really good reputation. We're a very trusted brand and a very honest clinic. Not every hair loss clinic out there can say the same. And we have a real empathy with our clients. So we truly understand, and this actually stems from Philip himself, truly understand the heartbreak or the distress or the lack of confidence that hair thinning can have on an individual. And we treat every person as an individual because everybody's hair loss story is different and unique. And we're very proud that we're able to do that and spend time with our clients for their consultation. So it's a very holistic approach. Trichology isn't just about putting fancy products on your hair or scalp. Part of it is. But, we look at our clients as a whole, at their diet, at their lifestyle, and medication, and that really helps us build a big picture about what might be going on with that particular client. So that's what we do at the clinic. And yes, we've got time, we've got questions that we can answer for you, so we can dive straight in, I guess, Tricia, and try and help us if we can.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning questions. If any of you on this call, we've had some questions before the call, but if any of you on the call has a specific question that we haven't covered, because we will be covering a lot of information in this, then pop it into the, I think you put it into the chat function at the bottom, and Amelia will be monitoring those. And at the end, I'll come to Amelia and say, have we had any questions from the group? So we will answer your question, and we really want you to get out of this what you want to get out of it. That's really, really important. So I'm going to start with what I think of as an incredibly sad story in a way, and it's to give the context of what we're looking at here, and that's the importance of hair to us as human beings, particularly women. We're quite used to seeing bald men, and of course bald men can make a big thing about the fact that they're bald, and it can become quite an it can almost be a symbol of masculinity. That's not true for women. Hair is incredibly important to us for our sense of self and femininity. And this is a story that I heard when I was doing some research for an article I was writing about hair, and I interviewed Trevor Sorbie. You may or may not remember him. He used to be one of these quite glamorous hairdressers in, like London, Mayfair, wherever. And what happened to him was that he was talking to a customer one day, and who he knew well, and she told him she had breast cancer. And he was naturally sympathetic. And then she said to him, the thing is that I've decided not to have treatment for it. They're saying I need chemo, but I've decided not to have the chemo. And he said, why on earth would you do that? And she said, because if I have the chemo, my hair will fall out. And I'd rather take my chances with the breast cancer than have my hair fall out. And he was absolutely horrified. And he said to her, are you saying to me that you'd rather die than have no hair? And she said, yes. Okay. Now that's extreme, but it does pinpoint this idea. Now, what Trevor Sorbie did in response to that was incredible, because he was so disturbed by the story. He said to this client, okay, I'm going to show you how I can give you a wig. I can shape it, cut it, that nobody will ever know it's not your hair. Nobody, only you. And he started a charity, which he kept going. I think it's probably still going, because Trevor Sorbie is Trevor Sorbie still alive? I think he is. He's well into his 70s. But the basic thing is, he started this charity, and it was very, very successful. So all the women who were in danger of or had lost their hair through chemo would go to him, and he would take them to a private room. He had a special space for them, so they wouldn't need to be embarrassed. And then he would work with them, find the perfect wig, cut it, shape it, and he would then show them how to maintain it until they got their hair back, or if they never got their hair back because they had alopecia. So the point of that story is really to underline the fact that I get it. Talking to him, my goodness me, did that ever bring it home to me? And also for any of you on this call who have these deep fears and concerns about it, you're not going mad. You're not stupid. This is very, very important. So I'm now going to start talking to Lisa so that she can tell us everything and all the ways that she is a trichologist, and Philip Kingsley in particular can help. So let's start off with, I suppose, really, maybe we start with the normal stuff and then we go on to the problem stuff. So let's start with normal kind of hair growth and production, what you'd normally see, even sort of like how hair grows and becomes healthy. And then we'll go on to the next bit, which is then what happens with hair loss and how that cycle starts. So over to you, Lisa.
Yeah, so I'll briefly go into a little bit about the hair cycle, which I'm not going to get too sciencey, but a lot of people quite rightly would sometimes think that when one hair grows, it's just one hair and it grows and grows and grows, and if we never cut it, it would kind of trail along the floor, and that's actually not how hair grows. So hair goes through, every single hair on the scalp goes through a cycle, and we've got about 120,000 hairs on the scalp. They're all independent of each other. So this one sitting next to this one is not going to, if this one falls out, this one can happily stay in. So they're all independent, and every single hair follicle is an organ of its own with its own blood supply. And so when the hairs go through their normal cycle as we go through life, we have something called an anagen phase, or a growth phase of the hair cycle, where about 90% of the hairs at any one time are in an active growth phase. And you know which those hairs are, because if you pull your hair and it hurts, those are the ones that are in their active growth phase. When they finish their growth phase, and that growth phase can be anything from 2 years up to 7 years. So if you've got a 2-year growth phase, which is probably me, I can never grow my hair past my shoulders, it's quite short. If you've got a 7-year growth phase, you might be able to grow your hair so long that you can sit on it. And that growth phase, the length of that phase, is determined largely by genetics, but also we factor in age as well, because it changes as we get older. When hair's done its growth phase, that hair will go into a resting phase for a couple of weeks. Then it will, it will go into a transitional phase for a couple of weeks where it's losing the blood supply. Then it will sit in its follicle for about 3 months. And when the follicle's had a rest, because it's been busy for quite a few years, it will expel the hair, and then we just get another hair right behind it. So the follicle goes into this cycle of growth, transition, and shedding, and then we go back through the cycle again. But as we go through the aging process, and health changes, hormone changes, things start to interrupt that growth phase of the hair cycle, and then we start to see changes with how our hair might look. So we might see too much hair shedding, hair coming out at any one time. We might see reduction in hair volume, and we might see changes in terms of texture. So as we age and hormones change and health factors change, we can see some interruptions in that hair cycle, which changes the appearance of our hair overall, if that all makes sense.
It absolutely does make sense. And in fact, I think I love that point about some people can't grow their hair longer than this, and other people can sit on it. I didn't know that. That's new information to me, because I've always had short hair, even when I was a little tiny child. You know how kids these days always have long hair, little girls.
Yes.
And I used to be set with a Marnie hair wave. My mother used to try and curl it, which was totally impossible because my hair is straight to die. But it never grew past my chin, almost like a bob almost. I mean, admittedly, I used to have it cut into that shape, but it never felt like it would ever grow in any way, shape or form. You know what I mean? And I've never really thought about that. And it's why I have it short now. So that's really interesting information. And this other thing about how each single strand of hair, I think that's incredibly interesting, is different, separate.
Yeah.
It's not, even though you might get a clump that starts to thin, it's like its own little production thing going on with the follicle and everything. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the causes that are to do with hair loss, because obviously my hair sheds. I can see, because my hair has now got quite grey. When I'm brushing it, I can see it.
Yeah.
Another one gone. Oh my God, there's another one gone. Try not to panic. The thing is that, at certain times, perhaps there's going to be things happening. And I think that's what I want to ask you next. What are the times?
So there are different types of hair loss, but I think I'm going to concentrate on the two most common ones that we see all the time and just kind of separate them so people know what we're talking about. So we talk about hair shedding as one hair loss condition, and we talk about hair thinning as another one. And just to kind of separate those out, hair shedding is when you physically see too much hair coming out. So as you just mentioned, Tricia, sometimes when you're blow drying or you shampoo your hair, you think, oh, there's a bit too much gone down the plug, or there's a bit too much in my brush. That's hair shedding, and it can, if it goes on for a long period of time, it can result in a lack of volume or loss of volume. So we don't feel we've got as much hair as we did. We don't get bald patches. We don't notice anything specific. It's just this overall reduction in volume. But the good thing about hair shedding is it is classed as a temporary hair loss condition. There are lots of things that can trigger it, and it can be hard to unravel. But it can be anything from when you've had a baby, big hormone shift, to certain medications, dieting, stress, the menopause. There are lots of things that can trigger this hair shedding, but it's a physical, visible hair loss condition that often corrects itself. When we talk about hair thinning, we talk about the fact that we can sometimes look at the scalp, particularly women, and notice that our parting's a bit wider, the scalp's a bit more visible. Maybe here on the temples, we feel it's starting to recede. So actually the strands are getting finer and shorter over time. And we haven't got a real lack of volume, but it's thinning is when we particularly start to see the scalp more. That is largely a genetic condition, but it's triggered by something, and it's often triggered at a hormonal shift in the body. So this hair thinning can be triggered at pregnancy or after pregnancy. Most commonly, it's triggered with the menopause, so that big shift in hormones, and then we can start to see it. But there's a genetic component that is triggered by the change in hormones. And if you want us to go into some detail about what that looks like and why that happens with the hormones, I'm happy to, but if we've got questions, we can do those as well.
Yeah, we perhaps take that as a question bit. We did have in fact, that is answering. We had two Sues actually who wrote in with a similar question. It was to do with, one of them she'd said to her hairdresser, my hair seems to be falling out more than normal. And the hairdresser said, oh, that's completely normal. It's just, have you been under stress lately? So she kind of brushed it off, I think. And so this person was obviously not quite satisfied with that. It's like, well, hang on a minute, I'm conscious of this. So it's important to say, but of course that could be temporary, because if it's chronic stress, it's not temporary. But something like the post-pregnant thing, I actually consulted a trichologist after I had Anna 50 years ago, because I have a very bald father and a very bald brother. My brother went bald when he was 21. Dad was bald, and I have an aunt who has to wear a wig. And I just thought, OMG, I am now. That's me. Yeah. So I went along, and it was brilliant, actually, because very reassuring. I'd had a baby, and he just said, I can honestly see, because he examined me, all that sort of stuff. And it's like, this is totally within the normal range of what you would expect. You think it's excessive. It actually isn't. It's quite normal. So your hair will recover. You're not going bald, and you're fine. And of course, as soon as you stop worrying about your hair going bald, it's better.
My screen. Sorry about that. I had a freeze on my
I've lost you, Lisa. I didn't hear that last bit. Okay.
I think I had a drop in bandwidth, but I'm back.
Okay, good. Yeah, I get that every now and again. It's a complete pain in the backside. Anyway, so we've had. I think you've talked about that. So it's like the temporary or the permanent. The genetic element of the course is the worry, isn't it? That you've inherited it in some way, and that is going to affect you over time. But again, a trichologist might be able to help you with that. So let's go on to the next one, which is Shall we talk about normal shedding and abnormal shedding?
Yes.
In terms of what do you need to start having a red flag about if you're noticing it? Let's talk about that.
For sure, that's a good point. So I think, we all do shed hair every day, and it's a normal thing. It has to happen in order for that hair cycle to keep on going in its normal place. We have to keep shedding old hairs to renew them and get new ones. For the most part, when shedding is normal, we don't notice it. So we might shampoo and a few hairs will slip down the drain, or be on your dressing table, and it's not a worrying amount. It's not something that's making you stop and think, oh my gosh, this is increased, this is abnormal. So we shed around 80 to 100 hairs a day, probably go completely unnoticed. If you start to be aware that there is, the drain's blocked, or you're seeing a lot of hair in your hairbrush, or you're waking up and there's hair on your pillow, or sometimes I would find it, I'm in the kitchen and cooking, I'm thinking, goodness, there's hair on the worktop or on my desk where I'm working. When it starts to pique your awareness and you think something has changed, you're probably right, because I think we've got a very good perception of what's going. I mean, sometimes we can blow things out of proportion and over worry, but I think we know our hair better than anyone else. If it's something that's piqued your interest and you think, actually, this isn't quite right, then it's perhaps time to monitor things. And with shedding, you truly don't have to go and run to the doctors or to a trichologist straight away, because sometimes it can be a blip. We can have something called seasonal shedding, which can happen in the spring and it can happen in September, and it's a little pickup in the amount of hair that we lose, so it shouldn't be a significant amount. So seasonal shedding is a thing. But if you're seeing too much hair fall coming out, it's going on for longer than 12 weeks and it's starting to have an impact on your overall hair volume, I do think it's time to try and get it checked, because even though we talk about it as a temporary hair loss condition, you will stay in a shedding phase actually until you've unraveled what is going on. So it might be a case of the stress is chronic, you're very aware of it, and you think, well, actually, when this period has passed, the hair shedding should settle down and the hair will recover. But it could be worth going to see a GP or going to see a trichologist. And the first thing we would do is to organise some blood tests, because that can be really revealing. So you can have your bloods, the basic blood tests that I would organise for my clients would definitely be thyroid function, particularly if there's thyroid issues in the family, and things like your nutritional status, because things like low iron, vitamin B12, vitamin D, your zinc and serum folates, they would kind of be my 6 that I would always blood test if anyone complains of hair thinning, hair shedding, just to make sure there's no nutritional deficiencies, because those things are really key. The hair absolutely needs them and feeds on them. And if you've got low levels, you don't even have to have a clinical deficiency in any of these things for it to start to affect your hair. It can affect your hair quite early. So I think, if your shedding's going on for more than 12 weeks, try and organise some blood tests through your GP, and see if you can find something that's actually pretty obvious, and that's a good starting point.
Yeah, that's really, really helpful, Lisa, because the idea of just a simple blood test, which is very, it's very non-invasive, very easy to do. Yeah. And it can tell you so much, and that's really important. I told you this, I'm not going to go into any great detail, but I had an issue. I moved out of my flat and it was redone. I had a new shower put in, away from the bath, and I bath every night, but I wash my hair in the shower. And basically, the bath wasn't draining properly. The bath wasn't draining properly, and the shower was overflowing. So the bath was draining via the shower. And I just thought the builders have just made a mistake. They've got some kind of, under the ground, they've got a diversion for the water out of the bath that goes via the shower. Anyway, I put up with it for quite a long time, and it just meant that I could only let my bath out very slowly. I'd have to stop and start it, and then the shower would go down, and then I'd put a bit more water out, and the shower would go down. And it got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I put up with it for a long time because I'm stupid. Anyway, I called my builder, and he said, "There's no way we've put pipes in the wrong way." He said, "I can tell you that now. We're not that daft." Anyway, they came round, and I let them get on with it. And Mike came into where I was sitting, and he said he got this bag, and I said, "My God, what's in that? Is it a rat or something?" It's just like a rat had climbed up and died and blocked it. He said, "No, it's hair."
Oh my goodness!
And I was absolutely horrified. It's like, what? But this had been going a long time, so this wasn't just like 2 weeks. This was months. And I said, "Oh my goodness me!" Anyway, I don't think it was abnormal shedding. I think it was the shedding that you get when you wash your hair, which can look quite a lot. Well, anyway, I bought something like a tea strainer from Amazon, and it's perfect, and it fits over the plug in the shower. Mike obviously cleared out all the rubbish, and yeah, it's brilliant. I lie in the bath now, and when I let the plug out, I look at the shower as much as say, if you overflow, I'm going to. Because every time I wash my hair, I take the tea strainer out, I scrape off the hair that's in there, and it's not excessive. It was just a build-up. Anyway, I don't know whether I should have told you that story or not. But things happen. Life happens, as they say.
I think actually, Tricia, that's an important thing, because if you're shampooing every day, you will see less hair than if you're shampooing once or twice a week.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of people worry when they see shedding and they say, "Oh, I'm going to stop shampooing," but actually that's the worst thing, because when you eventually do, you dislodge all of those loose hairs and it looks even worse. So it's more of a panic if you leave it a long time in between.
Thank you for that, Lisa, because I don't wash my hair every day. I think there is advice sometimes that you should. However, my hair is weird because it's not greasy. It never gets greasy. And also it looks better when it's slightly, it's got some kind of, shape in it from, I'm not going to say dirty, but you know what I mean? It's not new washed. My hair new washed is a nightmare. So I leave it 2 or 3 days, and actually it looks better and better and better almost. And then it needs washing. So that's why I have this amount of shedding, I think, when I wash my hair. You might give us some advice about washing, perhaps, if you want to, but let's stick with the thinning hair thing. So I've got a question here from Dorothy, and it was about grey hair. So is grey hair different from hair that's, the colour it is when you're a child? Does the texture change so that it looks thinner or, than it was when you were younger? Is that an aspect of grey hair?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I guess it's twofold to that. So grey hair actually isn't grey, it's colourless. We think it's a colour, but it's actually colourless. And what's happened is the supply of melanin, which is the pigment that colours our hair brown or blonde, actually it's almost like an inkwell, and the inkwell has run out at some point. So there's no colour being fed through the hair. So the hair is colourless. But the other thing that happens is, because this is generally part of the aging process, so we're getting older as the inkwell runs out and the pigment starts to go. So as we go through the aging process and those hormone changes, what happens with oil production is oil production slows down. So we sometimes feel that grey hairs, sometimes people feel they're coarser because they can stick out and look a little bit obvious. They're not actually coarser, but they can be more dry. So the oil production slows down, and the oil normally will smooth the hair and lubricate it, so they poke up a little bit, and they can look a little bit more wiry. But also, as we're going through the aging process, the hair follicle starts to shrink. So as the follicle shrinks, the hairs get finer over the years. So it's not necessarily that grey hairs are thinner, it's that aging hairs are thinner, and we happen to lose the colour at the same time. So for the most part, it's the follicles are smaller, the strands are thinner, and hair can be a bit more unruly without that lubrication from the oil production that's slowed down.
Okay, thank you. That's a really good answer to the question. It's not the grey, it's the aging process and the impact on the follicles. Yeah, okay, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Thank you for that. So I think what we'll do now is maybe talk a little bit about treatments. So I do want to talk to you about supplements maybe first, because there's various ways that you can help. But we had a couple of questions. Kath said literally that, are there particular supplements we ought to be taking for our hair as we get older? And then I had another question from somebody called Anne, who'd been on steroids, and she wanted to know, so that had impacted on her hair. So it's this whole thing about, I suppose it's about health, really, this question. And so you talked about blood test, but all the things that impact on your health, and then what you can do about it. Are supplements helpful?
Yes, yeah. So for sure, something that happens as we age is our ability to absorb nutrients from our food can start to decline. So we can find that even though our diet might be pretty consistent and we're eating pretty much the same foods, we're not absorbing all the nutrients from it. So we can find over time that some of these levels we talked about earlier might go in the decline. So things like your iron, your B12, your vitamin D, that you might not be absorbing as much as you might have done. And so it's a good idea to keep your eye on those things. Deficiencies in those things can cause hair shedding and hair problems. So supplements could help. Sometimes I'm reluctant to say, I am definitely reluctant to say supplements will help everybody's hair. They will help your hair if your hair problems are as a result of your nutritional status. So if you have become low in iron and B12 or a couple of those things or one of those things, taking a hair targeted supplement can help you and help your hair. If your hair changes are not as a result of diet or nutrition, taking supplements will not help your hair. And what really, I guess I should have done it the other way around, is to say that, a lot of people experience a hair problem, hair thinning, hair shedding, and immediately they think supplements is the answer. But supplements is only the answer if your hair issue is because your diet isn't 100% or your nutritional status isn't 100%. Saying that, I think optimizing your levels of iron, B12, etc., can only assist your hair. You don't want to go overboard and take too many supplements, but taking a hair targeted supplement that's got all those little things in small amounts can support your hair and just act almost like an insurance policy in case your diet isn't quite meeting all of your needs.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I had something occur to me then. It's gone straight out of my head. Senior moment. I'll come back to you when I think about what it was I wanted to ask you. It was to do with food and absorb. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, I've got it. Yes. So hair and nails. Am I right? It's keratin.
Yes.
It's kind of made of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And both of those keratin in our body is dead.
Yes.
It's a terrible thing to say. Your hair is dead.
Dead. Yes.
So the production of the hair via the follicles is where it's alive, if you like. That's the live part of your hair. So that's why your scalp's important. Massaging your scalp, or like getting blood to your scalp. That's where you can help that, because your follicles, when you go bald, your follicles have stopped working, and they have stopped producing the hair. So that's what it is. So this idea of the actual hair that you see, not only is it not the hair you had when you were a child, and it's changed a million times in that time.
Yeah.
It's also dead protein. It's not live protein. So therefore, in some ways, the production of that and the health impacts of that are the health impacts on the follicles, and the fact that the process in your body of producing healthy hair has been interrupted in some way, shape, or form, either through drugs, through illness, through stress, through poor nutrition, or not absorbing nutrition.
Yes.
So then, that probably leads on to my next question. Because this stuff on our head is dead, what we're then doing is we're trying to make that supplements are about the follicles, supplements about supporting your body to produce better hair. But then when it's out there, it's come through the follicles, it's actually on your head. The next thing I'm going to come to is then what do you do to treat that, the dead hair, the dead protein? Because obviously the quality of the way that looks, its shine, its texture, its behavior, because hair that's in very poor condition, you can't do much with it. Won't curl, it hangs differently. It doesn't sway. It doesn't, you know what I mean? We all know what that looks like. So that's the next question, really. And we did have a question from Jill, and she said, I've got very thick, curly hair, but I can't read my writing. And so she wanted to know about conditioners. So I suppose that's really what I'm talking about. So it's the condition of your hair, this dead protein.
Yes.
About that. So let me come to you there just to expand on that.
Yes, yeah. And that's a good point. The living part of your hair is only inside the scalp, inside the hair follicle. This is all dead. But saying that, we can improve it. So if you're not happy with the condition of it, it's dry, don't think you have to just go and have it all cut off and start again. You can actually improve the condition of your hair, because technology and ingredients and products are so clever these days and are really, really helpful. So for your lady with was it Jill? Sorry, she's got very...
Yeah, Jill's got thick curly
Jill.
hair. Yeah, lucky her.
I know. Can I have some thick curly hair, Jill? Curly hair is the hair type that has the most tendency to become dry. So Jill, if you feel that your hair is dry, it's out of condition, there are definitely things you can do. I mean, lots of us use heat, lots of us color treat our hair as well, and we want to continue to do that without worrying that we're causing too much damage. So things like, I mean, everybody should use a rinse off conditioner, so a conditioner after you shampooed. Some people with very fine hair don't like to, because they feel they'll weigh the hair down. But if you can find a really, really lightweight one, you'll get all the benefits and none of the downsides. So you'll get a slight bit of lubrication from the conditioner. You'll get some shielding, some moisture, detangling properties, but super lightweight so that it won't weigh your hair down. But equally, if you've got coarse hair, you're going to need something a bit richer, a bit thicker. So your rinse off conditioner should be at the heavier end of the range. If you were to choose a Philip Kingsley one, Jill, you would be the perfect person for our remoisturizing shampoo and conditioner, because they've got big proteins, wax and oils in there, things that you need to kind of help to control your hair. But in terms of a treatment, if you're looking to step up from just a normal conditioner, our elasticizer, so it's a leave-in conditioning treatment. It's a Philip Kingsley one. It's a huge award winner. It's been around for over 50 years. Improves the condition of the hair here. So it makes the hair silky, it makes it soft, it makes it manageable, puts the gloss back in, almost feels like new hair again. So if you're feeling it's crunchy, or you're seeing breakage, it's, as Tricia, you said, it's hanging, or you can't get a curl, you need to work on the moisture and the hydration and the conditioner. And elasticizer it would be my number one desert island recommendation for everybody for their hair type.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you can make an awful lot of difference to this dead protein that you've got coming, that's on your hair with the products that you use. And I find with mine, if I get the right thing, the difference is incredible, because I don't have easy hair. I never have. It's terribly straight. It's very hard to get any kind of lift in it in a way. And I hope I'm not insulting anybody when I say sometimes I go out and I think I look like care in the community. And you know what I mean by that. I look a bit desperate. And it's because I can't, my hair is just feels very, very flat, and it doesn't suit me. I have to have height on my hair, but getting height on your hair, if your hair is very straight and also quite fine, is hard. And I do use products, and I found products that work for me, and they make all the difference. And then back to what we said at the beginning, if my hair looks okay, I feel 100 times better. If I do feel a bit care in the community, I just feel like I don't want to go out. It's this whole thing about I just don't feel my best, and that affects me psychologically.
Yes, you don't.
It probably shouldn't, but it does.
Well, I think Philip Kingsley coined the phrase "bad hair day," and what he meant by that is, you can have your perfect, immaculate makeup and your lovely dress, but honestly, if you look in the mirror and your hair isn't right, it just ruins your day, doesn't it? And I'm the same. I don't feel polished if my hair's not good. I think I said to you on our last call, I was out in the garden doing some gardening, and it was very humid, and my hair was just getting frizzier and frizzier. And a neighbour walked past, and I literally hid behind the hedge because I couldn't bear to be seen with this embarrassing hair. I just thought, oh no, I'd rather hide and not see my neighbour than be seen looking disheveled.
Mine does the opposite. Yours gets big, mine gets small. And just a final thing, I'm then going to open up to see if we've got any questions that have come in during the call. Do put your questions in now if you want a question answered, and that's to do with the role of hairdressers, because I know this isn't your thing, Lisa. Yours is all about trichology and treatment, but I think your hairdresser is your best friend. You get the right one. My hairdresser currently is a guy called Sean, who is absolutely gorgeous, and that is a bonus. You don't have to have a hairdresser that just makes you go weak at the knees, and he's gay, so there's absolutely no interest. Well, he has no interest in me anyway, but you know what I mean. So he's called Sean Jackson. Okay, so let me just tell you that story, because I think it's quite hopefully it's quite funny. I came out of Waitrose in Wimbledon about 2 years ago, and this woman, my age, grey hair, was walking across the car park, and she literally had hair cut to die for. It's just like, oh God, look
Wow.
at that woman's hair. Anyway, I needed a new hairdresser. My existing one had left, and I was heartbroken. Anyway, I chased her across the car park before she drove off in her car. Ooh, excuse me. And I thought she's going to think I'm a complete mad woman. Anyway, I said, look, I'm not mad. I just want to ask you about your hair. It just looks amazing. And I hope she'd say locally, because that would be amazing. Village, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a little man in the village. He's fantastic. Anyway, she said, he's called Sean Jackson. And he said, it's called the Hunted Collective. It's in North London. It's like, I live in West London. It's like North London. God almighty. Anyway, but she gave me his details, and she said he's ex-Vidal Sassoon. I think he's the best haircutter I've ever had. He's amazing. She didn't tell me he was drop dead gorgeous, but anyway, I went all the way up to Islington, made an appointment, went and saw him. And I think since I've been going to Sean, he's moved, by the way. He's now just off Oxford Street. I've been going to him. My hair has never behaved so well. He just, and also as it grows, I have so few haircuts. I mean, he cuts too well, really, because my hair will just grow into the most amazing shape, and it will just get longer, but it's just like, it still looks very much the same. He is phenomenal. And I think hairdressers become your best friends because they get to know your hair, understand it. They can cut it to suit your face. They can cut it to suit your hair. They can give you what you need that works for your hair. And that I just want to finish on that, because I really think that's important. Even if your hair is thinning, the thing about a hairdresser is that they understand all of that, and they can cut thinning hair so that it looks thicker.
I agree.
And they can help you. If you're really worried, you can go to them, and they shouldn't dismiss your fears like the one who said, oh, it's stress, get over it. It's like, I'm listening to you, I'll do it. And Sean would be very much like that. He's fabulous, really fabulous.
He sounds incredible.
Yeah, he is. And then we did have a question from someone called Carol. It was about, if all else fails, kind of wigs and hair pieces. That's not your concern. But back to the Trevor Sorbie story, just to finish on that, there's so much you can do with that. You don't have to buy an off-the-shelf thing, and it doesn't have to be. Trevor Sorbie uses, he may still do it, wigs that are, natural human hair. They don't have to cost a fortune. You can get good ones, but they do have to be cut, and they do have to be shaped. It's not a question of buying something off the shelf and you plonk it on and everybody knows you're wearing a wig. It's a question of using the wig as a substitute for real hair, your real hair, and then making sure that it looks great, and a good one you won't know. I bet there are a few Hollywood stars out there who've got you've moved Lisa's just moved on my screen, who wear really good wigs, and nobody knows. I bet quite a lot.
I'm sure there are a lot. And actually, the one other thing that is really good that I use sometimes, because I have some hair thinning, is what I call camouflage products. So
yes.
if you've got a little bit of thinning here, or you can see your scalp a bit, camouflage products are a lifesaver. So I sometimes use them. They're called hair fibers, and you get them in different colors. And if your parting's a little bit wide, you're a bit conscious, you can just shake them in, and they attract to the hair, and they're in your color. They conceal your parting, and just give you that confidence that you're not worried about a light being above you, or somebody taking your photograph and, oh gosh, your scalp's visible. So I think camouflage products are great. You can get the fibers, you can get the spray, you can get the paint on brush type thing, but they can just make a world of difference to how you feel about your hair when you look in the mirror.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's quite a good place to wrap up, really. What we're saying is, don't despair, find out why. Lots and lots of help out there, good hairdressers, great products. Philip Kingsley are the leading ones, and Philip died at the age of
84.
Yeah, and he was still working
till the day he passed away. Absolutely. Yeah.
So this is a company that's been around for a very long time, and I've known about Philip Kingsley for practically the whole of my life almost, and his daughter Annabelle is still part of the business, and the point about Philip Kingsley is you're getting the absolute, the experience, the background, these are not fly by night people who come with a product, make a fortune out of it, and then they disappear and the product disappears. It's about longevity and also experience, and you know that you're getting the absolute best with Philip Kingsley things. So there's lots and lots of things you can do, and hopefully we've covered all of those, from supplements to treatments to just literally things like shampoo and stuff, to what Lisa just said. So we're very lucky, I think, from that point of view, to be living in 2025, in that there's a big recognition of the issue, the problem, but there's an enormous amount of knowledge and help out there, and that's very, very reassuring. So if any of you is worried, then just for goodness sake, you know, I won't say stop worrying, because that's a stupid thing to say to somebody, but don't despair, I'd say. Rather than don't worry, just don't despair. There will be something that will help you. So Amelia, let's come to you. Let's see if you've got anything that you want to.
We just have one question in the chat. So women often cover their hair for 6 to 8 hours for religious reasons. Most have tight coils. What scalp and hair concerns should we be aware of? What Philip Kingsley product should we get? And then there's a second part to the question. What is the effect of repeatedly getting coily hair wet? What product can assist?
Interesting. So it's fine to have the hair covered. That's okay. It's not going to be, unless there's anything that is excessively tight and rubbing, I don't think there's anything to worry about with that. It's just that the scalp, especially in the summer, can get hot. We can get extra sweaty. So we've got sweat glands, we've got oil production. So it can have more of an impact on the scalp, actually. So we just need to make sure if the head is getting very hot, shampoo as frequently as you possibly can, bearing in mind, I think you said it's coily or curly hair type. So not everybody with coily curly hair wants to shampoo that frequently. If that's something that you can't do, then we've got something called a scalp toner, which is a really good, it's like a water-based lotion you can put onto your scalp. It's kind of antibacterial, doesn't make your hair sticky. It's almost like having a little scalp wash, but you're not actually washing your hair. So that's something to keep the microbiome of the scalp really good and help with oiliness. In terms of curls and wetting the hair, I think you said, Amelia, having the hair too wet. Yes, when all hair is wet, it immediately becomes weaker because some of the hydrogen bonds are broken when the hair is wet. So if you're someone who has curly hair and you soak your hair, you will know that your curls will loosen and drop when your hair gets longer when your hair is wet, because you've broken the hydrogen bonds. So that is a temporary thing, but it means the hair is already weaker when it's wet. So that is definitely the time we have to be extra careful. We're not tugging and tearing away at the hair, because the hair is definitely more fragile at that point. So there is something to be said for not over wetting curly hair or too frequently, because curly hair is the most fragile hair type to have as well. So we don't have to wet it too often, but it's more about how you handle that hair when it's wet. So detangling products, leave-in conditioners, detangling with your fingers or a wide tooth comb, and not kind of tearing away with a small comb or a small brush. So it's more about how you handle that hair when it's wet. And actually, if you go onto our website, there is so much education and help on our website. So whether you've got hair thinning, hair shedding, have a click through, you'll find lots of information there. So it's a really useful website to just, have a look around and see if there's any help that we can give you there.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed, Lisa. So thank you all of you for coming. It's been brilliant to see all of you. And thank you to Lisa, obviously, such an expert, and just feel we've had chapter and verse really today, which is what we wanted to give you. Thank you to Amelia for organising everything, and for being our techie person. Very important to have a young techie person on hand to do all the difficult bits. I do anyway. Enough already. Thank you, ladies, and goodbye to Lisa and Amelia, and to all of you.